Just gonna give it a few minutes for people to pop in. Jippy, that's my little boy. And then, if anyone's passing through, can you just tell me if you hear
public health priorities, particularly related to the 2020 respiratory virus season and the policy.
So I'll skip to this part right here. I'm gonna just do a live react. So on Twitter, Mandy Cohen, good morning. This morning, or not this morning, a day or two ago, Mandy Cohen did this chat with Mandy Cohen, and she actually recommended wearing a mask. So I thought it would be fun to do like a little live react. I haven't watched it yet. It looks pretty long, so I'm gonna hopefully just skip to the parts that are just her.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Mandy Cohen, Director of the CDC, and I really wish I could have been with you all today to discuss our work to reduce respiratory disease transmission this fall and winter season. I'm really grateful for...
Let me close some tabs. I have some tabs open. Close my Excel sheet. Close my files. Alright, and then just give it a little buffering time. Actually, that should be plenty. Here we go.
For you coming together to work on alignment between public health and health delivery to meet the challenges that the respiratory viruses bring us each and every year. This conversation...
So I guess like right there, so one of the first things I really don't like about how Mandy Cohen is taking on the CDC director role is that she's treating it sort of like she's a politician, or like instead of like focusing on the hard work, the real work of the CDC, making sure that you're doing the monitoring, making sure that you're addressing the things like Rochelle Walensky, the previous CDC director, brought up, making sure you have a centralized data system as opposed to like working off of faxes and receiving faxes for data for future pandemic preparedness as well as current pandemic readiness. Making sure that you're not dismantling systems, that you're bolstering them up, expanding wastewater, testing, things like that. But instead she decided to go on this like thing where she's just going from like state to state to state and trying to be like a public communication liaison, and it's like that's not what the CDC director's role is. And it seems like she's like using this job, this is my opinion, but it seems like she's using this job to angle for something higher, for, I don't know, maybe a role in government. It seems like she's trying to use this as a political stepping stone. That's just my impression from what I've seen so far from her. And also I don't like that she's already starting this saying, oh, this is our common respiratory season, things are coming up.
Conversation is foundational as we think about overall alignment between health delivery, public health, and other sectors like life sciences, social supports, philanthropy, academia, and much more. While we see more health threats than ever on the horizon.
And also, sorry for the quick pause again, but she should be wearing a mask right now. Like, you have to emulate the behaviors you want to see, especially if you want to be a forward-facing person, like she's trying to angle for this, like instead of being like, hey, we're the CDC, this is our communications department that will be translating all of our messages, she's deciding that she's going to be the public communication face. So, like, part of that is, like, doing the behaviors you want to, like, advocate for, and that should be wearing a well-fitted N95 respirator while she's doing this interview, because it's not going to make it so she can't be heard. You could literally just clip a little microphone to the mask, if you wanted to. Like, that's another thing.
The good news is that we have an unprecedented moment of scientific breakthroughs, powerful detection and diagnostic interventions, artificial intelligence advancements that are game changers. And so with more challenges.
Also, I'm not sure what she's talking about in terms of artificial intelligence advances. Like, we're not using it for wastewater detection or any of these other things. I've seen some studies where people are using AI for certain biomolecule creation type of thing, trying to predict how the spike protein is going to change, but like that's just computer modeling, it's not technically AI. Anyways.
But also more innovation than ever before. The question facing all of us now is, what do we do? What do we, public health and health delivery, need to do to meet this moment?
What do you have to do? You have to make a very clear, concise message. People need to mask. People need to vaccinate. These are the effects of COVID. These are the effects of long COVID. This is like what we should be doing. This is like COVID can impact your immune system. So the fact that we're seeing more RSV cases and all this other stuff. She may be confessing that there is some AI being used when maybe it shouldn't. Possibly. I think she's trying to make it seem, I think she's misrepresenting what's actually being done in the scientific literature for AI in terms of predictive modeling and creating protein molecules. This is stuff that's already been in the works for many, many years. I think she's trying to make it sound like they're doing so much and like things are greater and more innovative than they've ever been before, and like that's just literally the current state of the technology. It's not being applied in these different ways. Is what I think she's misrepresenting the facts there. But yeah, that's what you do. And like underlying, like, hey, like the fact that we're seeing this white lung thing with pneumonia happening, that this is likely due to immune suppression from COVID. The fact that it's not just one thing, but it's an array of different things: the mycoplasma pneumonia, pneumoniae, the RSV, the influenza, etc. With some other things coming out in global politics, I don't know. It's true. It's possible. I just don't know. But yeah, this is my live react.
To embed the lessons of the pandemic to create an
ongoing pandemic, embed the lessons of the pandemic. That implies it's something that's in the past when it's present reality.
Integrated system to protect the health of this country. I want to share a bit about what our team at CDC is doing related to our fall and winter response. You know, we're really using this fall-winter virus season to turn a new chapter and chart a path forward. Specifically, we're thinking about policy development differently. Our public health policies, of course, must always be science-driven.
So public health policies, part of that is getting involved with the state governments and local governments, and there's at least 7 states that have pushed, some have passed, anti-mask legislation, which is going to make it even more difficult to enforce mask mandates. So as a CDC director, that should be stuff that you should be directly commenting on, because that is anti-science based evidence, and I have not seen the CDC director call out any of these states, any of this stuff. That's my cat, Joopy.
Evidence-based, but we really need to consider the real operational and implementation realities. For example, when the RSV infant monoclonal antibody nirsevimab was being rolled out, we did go beyond just putting out those evidence-based recommendations into the world. We collaborated with the delivery system and worked with the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, and CMS to make sure pediatricians could be reimbursed.
So also, it's weird that she's saying we, because that's the CDC prior to her. That was during Rochelle Walensky's time. I think that's weird that she's trying to take credit for something that happened prior to her being in the director role.
Not only for administering the new RSV immunization for babies, but also for counseling families about it. But we have more work to do on the coverage.
And that is a really great important point, is that the RSV vaccine, that's new. I think it's the past year that it came out. That's really, really great improvement, and a great thing that people should get. They filter my comment. What the hell? What was your comment? Try typing it a different way. I'll pause if it comes back in.
Front, from both a policy and operational perspective. Today, if a child needs a vaccine recommended from the CDC, we have the Vaccines for Children's program, and they can get those vaccines for free if they're uninsured or on Medicaid. Unfortunately, no such infrastructure exists for adults. This year, with the COVID-19 vaccine moving to the commercial market, the CDC's Bridge Access program provided that COVID vaccine to adults who are uninsured and underinsured for free. But we need a longer term solution because the Bridge program is just that, it's a bridge. This is going to take partnership with Congress to create a permanent Vaccines for Adults program to provide access to life-saving vaccine and be better prepared to respond to the next emerging public health threat.
So yeah, and that's if block mask by law, don't know how I will survive. Yeah, seriously, and but I don't think so. So far, all of the bills are only set up so that you cannot enforce a mask mandate. So you can't make people wear a mask. The laws aren't set up so that people that are wearing masks, they're not set up. That's the message they block. Yeah, sometimes the TikTok's really weird about the stuff that they block and censor. So yeah, I like your creativity. I still got the gist of the message. But so far there's nothing like if you wear a mask they'll tell you to take it off type of thing. But like there's been this growing thing. Like the first time I heard it was when I was flying on a plane a year ago, where on the overhead speakers they're like, you don't have to wear a mask if you don't want to, but they didn't say it like that. They said, people that are wearing a mask, you are welcome to keep it on, is what they said during that flight on the overhead speaker system. And I was like, what now? Because like that's sort of like the prevailing belief behind it is like, oh, you can do what you want, like if you want to be weird like that. And but like the fact that like they're building these laws, it's going to make it even harder. Like when it's not an if, it's a when during this winter they're going to try to reinforce these mask mandates. Now there's legislation, at least in about 8 different states, where they're saying we can't enforce it, and that's terrible. So yeah, sorry, let's go back.
We also know that respiratory virus season will happen every year, and that's why the CDC...
Yeah, so like RSV, flu, those are pretty cyclical, coming up in the winter between October and February. But again, COVID is happening all year round, with peaks between January to March. There was a third peak this year from March to May, I think, and then or maybe June. And then there's also the winter one, which is happening from about October to, I don't know, it just keeps rolling. So at least January, end of January, where the highest peak from this winter will happen. So like you can't like say, oh, seasonal respiratory virus season with COVID, because it's happening all year round. They are putting in for restrictions for people wearing them. Oh, I didn't know about that. I'll have to learn more about that. Can you maybe like send me a message if you have like any links for that, because I'd be very interested in reading on that. I haven't seen restrictions to my knowledge yet where they're saying people wearing them at all. So far the language from my perspective has been like you can't make people wear them, but people that are wearing them don't have to like, they're not going to do anything about that. But yeah, I'd be very interested in that.
In order to respond effectively, needs data to flow. It needs it to flow between states, to and from the CDC, between public health and healthcare, and we need...
So again, she's doing a little allusion here to what Rochelle Walensky was saying. If you're not familiar, they did like grilling of her for her post-pandemic, her during pandemic responses. They're doing a post-pandemic grilling evaluation of her before she retired. I have videos on that. I'd recommend watching it. It's really easy to find on my YouTube channel. But like she pointed out very major issues. Like they don't have a centralized data hub. There's no standardized collection of data between different localities. So by the point that the data, even if it was being collected for like prior vaccination status, comorbidities, race, ethnicity, age, things like that, if they were collecting that at the hospital level, it wasn't necessarily making it to the state level, and then by the time it was getting to the CDC at the national level, it wasn't there. Like they didn't have that data, so it was getting like filtered out. It was like that game of telephone, and then you get the data faxed at the end, which is its own other issue. But it's like game of telephone to the point where like they're just losing data, and then they have a low bar, even though the data was really high quality at the source. And that's a problem.
Need that to happen as quickly as possible. We need adoption of data standards and system functionality. And
that's a big thing, and it's like, why hasn't that been like the impetus, the main thing that of the CDC? That should have been her first action, was to create a standardized data form to be sent out to all areas so that you are collecting the same types of information across all hospitals, that this is going up to the state level where it's the same information without being degraded, and then it's being sent to the CDC where they're aggregating it into a centralized data hub so that they can process it in real time and then send resources to where the resources need to go. And she's not focusing on that from what I can tell.
We are working closely with our federal partners at ONC and CMS to implement a public health system certification program to promote interoperability.
Okay, so she's outsourcing it. So you're going to get certified. So instead of actually doing the real work and creating the system, they're saying we're going to certify places to our standard.
Operability and functionality for core data systems. We've also been working hard and fast to put in place forward-looking data use agreements, or DUAs, with our state, local, tribal, and territorial partners to enable robust national situational awareness. Specifically, we're introducing a common DUA for all our core data sources with our health department partners in the next month. We're also looking at the full range of policy levers to both maximize our current authorities and build on them through partnership with Congress. Among other things, the goal of this effort is to provide Americans a more complete understanding about what's happening in their community related to COVID, flu, and RSV. We've been working.
And again, when you're grouping all these things, so like I know from like a political strategy point, when you group more things, you're more likely to get the funding to be able to address them. But also the risk with COVID here, the major red flag is that it can't be grouped in with those. It has a much worse severity. It has long-term implications with long COVID. It's still something that's evolving and emerging. Like it's emerged, but like it's still something that's mutating and changing over time. And it's not seasonal. It's all year round. So like it's like I can understand to a certain extent why they're trying to group it in, because there's a lack of funding interest, and if you group it in with other things, you're more likely to get the funding. But at the same time, it's this huge risk where people are like, oh, the flu's not so bad. Oh, RSV's not so bad. Just if you're not that healthy, just get the shot. If you're old, just get the shot. And then it just brings these tangential associations into COVID, which is much more severe and more problematic. So like, it's just not a good way to do this.
working with our jurisdictional partners to allow us to visualize data, prioritizing the National Syndromic Surveillance Program, with the goal of having at least 20 jurisdictions allowing public visualizations of respiratory virus emergency.
That's a very weird statement. At least 26 jurisdictions allowing the data visualization. What in the world does that mean? Allowing it? Does that mean a lot of places are not allowing the data visualization?
Department diagnosis to the sub-state level this season. Without our jurisdictional partner approval, we are not able to share such data at that level of granularity.
Okay, she just answered it. So it looks like some jurisdictions are obstructing the sharing of COVID data visualization.
So now we have the ED data visualized at the state level, but we need to do better.
So that's interesting. I'm actually going to make a note of that because I'm going to have to follow up with that because that's really important. Data visualization blocking. For COVID. That's got to mean that there's some sort of laws that are preventing it.
As you engage in discussion today, I appreciate your focus on health delivery and public health alignment and thinking creatively about how to utilize the regulatory and reimbursement processes to focus on our shared priority of reducing the burden of respiratory disease. We need an integrated effort to keep this country protected and healthy. This is a team sport, and I'm grateful to have you on the.
Also, so this is the second time I've heard this now. So like Joe Biden talking about teams, and then now Mandy Cohen being like, this is a team sport. It's not a sport. Like, there are no teams. It's literally just public health.
The team. Thanks so much.
All right, Mandy, thank you very much. So we're now going to...
And then I'm going to try and skip ahead to Mandy Cohen
transition to some further discussion of those issues that Mandy raised, including healthcare and life sciences.
Ooh, my stomach.
Working together with
So what I was just watching might actually be a different thing. I was looking for that TikTok, or not TikTok, Twitter. Looks like I found a different video than I meant to find. In Oklahoma, they would block things if they could. Yeah, definitely. Because people were sharing that thing about her making the mask recommendation. I didn't hear it in that little snippet. Yeah, video briefing. So hopefully this will link us to it. Released a video. Here we go. Well, we got a little bonus fun in there.
Hi, everyone. It's that time of year again when we're seeing a lot of respiratory illness like flu, RSV, COVID, and pneumonia.
And that's a little verbal trick right there. So they've done lots of studies. When you list a list of items, people remember the first thing and the last thing you say. Most frequently, they remember either or. So when you do a list like that and you have COVID packed in the middle end of the list, that makes it so that people don't pay attention to it and are more easy to forget that part of the information. So she's like, influenza, RSV, COVID, and pneumonia. That makes it so people are like, oh, influenza, pneumonia. And that makes it so that it's just a dirty little communication.
In the United
trick.
States, RSV is elevated. Flu is continuing to increase in most of the country, and COVID is starting to increase again after being stable for the past few weeks. We're also seeing increases in pneumonia.
When did she make this? The past few weeks, COVID has been increasing. So I don't know why she thinks that's stable.
Cases, which can increase this time of year. We're seeing more respiratory illnesses and pneumonias in the United States and around the world, but right now we're not seeing anything new or unfamiliar in terms of virus or sickness.
And as I mentioned earlier, so the fact that it's nothing new or unfamiliar for these cases, these severe cases of pneumonia that are happening in children, that's implying that it's immune dysregulation from the COVID itself. That's happened because we're letting it run unchecked in children, and they don't have the option to get Paxlovid for most children because you have to be old enough, and then also you have to be above a certain weight. I think the cutoff is like 96 pounds, so kids can't get it. So I think it's immune deficiency that's probably the cause of these issues.
To protect yourself and your family this holiday season, take the step.
Good morning. We're just watching through Mandy Cohen's chat where she hopefully recommends the masks that I've seen videos, snippets of, and we accidentally watched a different video earlier.
Steps that we do every year to protect ourselves. Get your updated COVID and flu vaccines and your RSV vaccine.
So it was good that time, so COVID was right at the beginning, so that makes it important, so people remember the first and the last thing you said when you do a list. So it's good that she started with COVID flu vaccines.
If you're over 60.
If you're over 60, so that's actually against guidance by the Advisory Council for Immunization Practices, because they're saying for everyone. So she's saying, oh, if you're old.
It's not too late to get vaccinated if you haven't already. And use.
So that's not great for the hick pack stuff that's sitting on her desk right now, because it seems very clear that she is of the opinion that just, oh, it's just the old and the immunocompromised.
Additional layers of protection, like avoiding people who are sick, washing your hands, improving ventilation, and
so there's it.
Wearing a mask.
Wearing a mask. So, yep, definitely avoid people who are sick, wash your hands, wear a mask. But again, when you have an order like this, communications thing, you usually go from most important to least important when you're doing this type of list. So she's saying the most important thing is to stay away from people, to wash your hands, to improve your ventilation, and then to wear a mask. So mask in her list is the least important thing, which is not good. You want to start off with, all right, so you want to wear a mask, You want to stay away from sick people. You want to wash your hands and improve ventilation, because I also find it very interesting, the improving ventilation there, because that's putting the onus on the people, improving your own ventilation system. When this should be something that's being done at the governmental level to make it so that people can actually not have as much COVID in the air, so it's getting filtered out. So that's an interesting statement to be telling to the general public. Yes, why not start off with wearing a mask? That's the thing. So we saw a couple communication tricks in this. I'll highlight those again once we finish through the video, but I just wanted to highlight that.
And if you do get sick,
no problem.
I know it's hard, but
I really-
stay
I really like your music, by the way. So like, this is just gonna be me doing my little thing, but my soapbox. But there's many different ways people can help in terms of our ongoing pandemic and things like that. So you don't have to just be like a scientist that's going through and reading papers like I do, or like critically talking about criticizing the CDC and stuff like that. But like, you can be an artist. You can like create artworks. You can create songs, because it's about the whole I forget the word, cacophony, all the things being pushed together, and like a lot of times it's the art that actually gets people to change their mind, as opposed to people like myself. So like, that's very important. Thank you for doing what you do too.
home so you don't spread germs to others. And get tested so you know what you have.
So yeah, so getting tested. She's ignoring some of the most recent literature. I made a post today and did a long form TikTok live thing. Yep, no problem. The current viral loads are shifted over, so that has major implications for testing. They're happening on day 3 to 5 of symptoms. So if you do testing on day 1 and 2 and you get 2 negative tests for COVID when you have symptoms, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have COVID. You need to be testing on day 1, 3, and 5 of symptoms. So this could also have major influences. So there's the Test to Treat program that I shared a few days ago when we learned about that. So if you go to testtotreat.org, that's something that can give you free access to Paxlovid or antiviral treatments, and it's needed for, and it's free, completely free. Gotta appreciate this and all your info. Yeah, no problem. It's completely free. You get a telehealth appointment. It's supposedly up 24/7, although I had someone message me, be like, hey, I'm sick with COVID, and I messaged them, and they have not messaged me back. So I don't really know about that. My only advice for that would maybe be going to like an urgent care, because I know urgent cares can prescribe you Paxlovid. I think a lot of parents might like the nasal test, but was wondering about the spit tests. Not like the nasal test. So I haven't seen too much on the spit tests yet, but there's been several new papers. There's one from Ontario, Canada, in 2020, late 2022, that I already touched on, but like cheek, tongue, nose is the highest level of doing it. So it's possible that if they don't like the nose ones, you could try to just do cheeks and the back of the tongue. That should be a similar ability for people to actually like get a positive test without like really bugging the child, if it is something that's super hard. Thanks for posting, doing lives, really helpful information. More people need to be talking 100. Yes, definitely. And we used to have an at-home program in Minnesota where they would send the PCR spit test for free. Oh, cool. I'll have to look into that. I'm gonna write that down too. Because if they're, like, I completely believe you that there are spit tests. They've just gone under my radar. Spit test program, Minnesota. Yeah, so that has major implications. It's called the vault. So yeah, that has major implications for doing the tongue and cheeks. Have made it so helpful for testing my little one. Good, I'm glad. And like, there's some people that are gonna tell you, oh, the saliva breaks it down or whatever. It's not true. I extensively looked into it, and no, the saliva is not gonna do anything. You actually produce COVID virus virions in your saliva. So that's not true. Yeah, so in terms of her treatment statement here, so that's just stuff to be aware of. It's likely that since like that information is from April 2023, so that's what 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 8 months. That's 8 months ago. So it's likely that things have slightly changed by now with the viral kinetics. But that's the best we have to go on right now. Until new information comes out. Okay, I'm going to try to work on school stuff, but thank you so much. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for swinging by. Then I'm going to...
And you can get treatment. Getting tested and treated early can prevent you from getting severely ill, being hospitalized, and can potentially save your life. You can get free COVID tests at covidtest.gov.
So the covidtest.gov, you can only get 4 free tests per household. It's good. I actually, I don't know if they saw my name because I send them lots of stuff to the CDC. Oh, I gave it to my partner. But they gave me one of those iHealth 5 test things, and I checked in there and there was 5 tests. So I don't know if it was just like a fluke thing or the fact that like maybe they recognized me. I don't know. Maybe I'm definitely on a list somewhere. I know that for sure. But I got 5 tests through the program. We're actually set to expire in June of 2024, which is a lot later than other people told me from the tests they got. So definitely do that. Definitely do get your 4 free tests, but just be aware that it's 4 free tests per household. So, like for me, I ordered it. My partner can't order it. We only get 4, or in our case 5. But yeah.
Or you can get tested by visiting your doctor.
And so if you didn't order it, so this is the second time recently, they gave us 4 free ones in September. They gave us 4 free ones now in late November. Wait, is that right? September, October, November. Yes. So if you didn't order from the first batch, you can get 8. You can get 8 tests for free. If you didn't order from the free 4 from before. Family of 4, we got 4. Exactly. So like, that's one test per person, and when you need to be doing repeated testing, and now it seems like it's gonna have to be repeated testing at least 3 times, days approximately 3, 5, and 7. That's not enough tests. I received the second 4 quickly. Yeah, it was a quick turnaround for me as well. So I ordered them the instant I found out about it, so it was basically day 1 of access, which I think was November 29th. And they came on the next following week on December, what was the Friday after that? I don't know, my thing's not opening. Oh, there we go. Oh. December 1st is when I got mine. So they came very, very quickly. So USPS, always support them when you can. USPS does great services for us. This is just another example of why they're phenomenal.
Urgent care or local pharmacy. CDC will continue to closely monitor respiratory illnesses, including respiratory viruses and pneumonia spreading across the U.S. and around the world. And we'll be sure to share additional updates and information as we know it. Stay.
Okay, so now that we got to the end of it, same, good. Order for older people without computers. Yeah, and that's the other thing is like, it's fantastic that they're like sending this all out, but there's a whole generation of people that can't use computers. I literally have to give my grandma instructions, like step-by-step instructions. I sit down with her and she makes a list and is like, turn on the browser, like enter the browser, go into the thing. This is where it's located. Type it in. That type of like step-by-step instruction. And like for people like that, they aren't going to be able to access them. So you also need something like a hard mail-in system for older individuals. And also, like, what are you going to do for people that don't have a permanent address? Like, where are you going to send it to them? Like, how are you getting people these that, like, I don't know, like, people that are houseless? A lot of it just doesn't make any sense to me. But to go back to the sort of manipulative communication tactics.
Hi, everyone. It's that time of year again when we're seeing of respiratory RSV, COVID, and pneumonia.
So right there. So in this, flu, RSV, COVID, pneumonia. And again, people remember when you give them a list, the first thing and the last thing you say. So those are usually the most important, and a lot of times you stack these things in terms of the order of importance, where the first thing is the highest importance, the last thing is the lowest importance. So when you put COVID, the second to last item, that is the most likely one to not be heard or to be forgotten. So that's the first thing. That was that's a communications tactic. And if she was actually someone that was from communications, I've only studied it as like a special interest. I'm not an expert. I would go to Amani, a true expert. Crunches and Spices, that's the person you want to listen to. But I know enough to get by, to be dangerous. And then she makes another list, right here, where it's stay away from sick people, wash your hands, improve ventilation, and wear a mask. So we talked about the first and last thing, so it's good that wearing the mask is in one of the first or last columns, but in this type of list, the order of importance. Stay away from sick people, wash your hands, which aligns with what CDC's recommendations have been, is wash your hands. Improve ventilation and wear a mask. So the mask is the least important thing in this list. And then also, the CDC is now putting the onus of improving ventilation on on people, as opposed to like the companies, the corporations, the government, the systems. In your last TikTok, did you mean Stanford campus, like Palo Alto? So let me go to wastewater scan. Actually, that's gonna break my computer when I'm doing this type of sharing thing, so I'll just do Codiga. So it's a wastewater facility. A lot of different places will group these in weird ways. They'll say like it's a county, because a wastewater facility focuses on specific counties. It collects the waste sewage for counties within the local area. So some places will be like it's a county, but really it's a wastewater facility. So this is So yeah, it actually is the university. Stanford COVID dashboard. So the university collects and analyzes samples from a large sewer main that drains wastewater for about 10,000 people studying, working, residing in the thing. So yeah, that would be the, in this specific instance, the wastewater facility is specifically for the Stanford University. Yep, no problem. Usually it's not like that, but I guess for that local area, they're considering it all the surrounding region, just Stanford University in general. Cool. So that's my definitely shows the order of priority. Yes, absolutely. We just moved there from there to Boise. So yeah, it was a fortuitous time to get out. For people that aren't aware, I was just looking at Wastewater Scan and Verily, which is partnered with Wastewater Scan. just learned that information. But wastewater can partner with Verily. Verily is the higher order in this chain. So they had a huge spike. It went off the scale very, very high in this particular wastewater facility. I was just like looking through it, and if you click on Show Outliers on Verily, it shows that there was an even higher value on December 5th. And December 6th is still very high. So it's showing that that most likely is not a fluke, since it happened 2 days in a row. And they're excluding the even higher value. But like, again, this is just one place. This is one wastewater facility. So like, we have to look to all of them to get the picture of what's happening in a larger breadth of area. But it's an unnerving sign that that one place went up so high so fast. It could be a sign of more things to come. Essentially, we're in that really annoying position where wait and see. We have to wait and see. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if that's a fluke. We don't know if it's the first of many to follow a similar pattern. Unfortunately, a lot of times as a researcher, as a scientist, as just a member of the public that's watching all this stuff, we unfortunately have to be told we have to wait and see. My husband works in the neuro ICU here in Boise, and he is starting to see more COVID patients come. Yeah, I'm not surprised, especially with the giant spike in hospitalizations last week, or the last week. It jumped 17.6%, and it's been increasing pretty steadily for about 2 months. I've said this enough times that I basically have it off the top of my head. We had 9 weeks of straight increases, 4 weeks of slight I'll do it this way. We had 9 weeks of straight increases, 4 weeks of slight declines, 2 weeks of holding constant, 1 week of going down, and then now we're in our 4th week of going back up in COVID cases. So if you take that whole thing out into the large picture, we have basically a boop, 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 boop. So it's been, in general, trending up for new hospital admissions for COVID. And so like when they're looking at this, they're looking at so each week they take the total number, and then that's the total number of new hospital admissions for that week. So let's just say it was like 100. And we'll do 1,000. That'll be fun. So we do 1,000 patients for this week, and then the next week they're up 20%. So, God, I'm at the point where my brain isn't working, so we're going to pull out the fun old calculator. So 1,000 times 0.2, 200, so they're at 1,200. So that would be a 200 person increase from that week to that week. So that's what they mean. Is the number spike as high as any of the other previous few years? So if this is not a glitch, if this is something that holds true, if this is representative for the area, this is the highest it would have been ever in terms of the pandemic. But again, you have to look at the large scale of everything. So, and this happened once before in Oceanside, California, where it went super high. It went higher than it had been in any time in California. I'm specifically speaking California. And then the number got readjusted, and it went down about 50%. So that's what happened in Oceanside. Oceanside has a weird thing where they will actually throw out data using a Gibbs-free outlier test, where they basically look at the data and say, this doesn't fit, throw it out, which I don't think they should do. But that's what they do at that specific wastewater facility. So this one in Codiga, it would be the highest it's ever been in California for that particular wastewater site, and that value would be the highest in California for the whole pandemic. But since it's a university, it could be kind of by, like, your sample's biased because you're not going to have the mask mandates there. You're not going to have the isolation. Everyone's cramped together. It's like essentially an army barracks where you have all these people, really close contacts, breathing in each other, cross interacting with each other, sitting in classes for long periods of time. So it's probably going to be higher and worse in that type of area versus like elsewhere that's not a university campus. So it's likely probably leaning towards a higher end of this spectra, but just the fact that it exists, that it happened, is not a good sign. Stanford is massively transitory area because of Facebook, Google being so close. They should not throw the outliers. Yes, I completely agree. That's why I've been doing reprocessing of wastewater scans data, because so that's something that one wastewater facility does, but wastewater scan itself does something called a 5-point trimmed mean. So what this means, from their site, you can go look at it, it's they throw out in every 5 data samples, so they look at 5 points of data at a time. So like if today was day 1, you would look 5 days back, and then tomorrow you would look 5 days back and continually average that. They throw out the highest and lowest point, the max and the min. So I don't agree with that methodology. That's something you do in finances. You do not do that in research. You do not do that in engineering. You do not do that in science. I don't know why they're doing it that way. So I do a 5-point rolling mean, which is just literally taking the average of the previous 5 days and then just having that go on and on and on. So Boise. Where is Boise? Is that... I'm new to California. It's funny. I live in California and I'm focusing on the California numbers, but I would be focusing on the California numbers even if I didn't live in California. No, so Idaho. So no, Boise, Idaho. Should have known that. I'm only looking at California and New York. So the reason I'm only looking at California for doing that wastewater scan reprocessing is because if you look at wastewater scans, wastewater facilities, California has the highest number of wastewater facilities in a single state that they're looking at. I think it's something like 256 wastewater facilities they look at, and 59 are in California, but one of them stopped reporting about a year ago, so it's only 58. So I just look at and reprocess that because 1, I can only do so much in terms of like personal data processing because it takes a lot of my time. 2, it's the best access to the raw data that I currently have access to, so I can process that really easily. And 3, I think it's the most impactful. And then so California and New York are the best wastewater reporting facilities because New York is completely state-run. So you don't have to worry about federal government shortages, anything of that nature. They run themselves, but it's been difficult for me to find the raw data. I haven't looked too hard, to be honest, but that's why I haven't used New York, but they would be the other option if I didn't have California, and that's why I look at those two. And it also gives me an East Coast, West Coast differential. Different state. Yeah, no worries. That's on me. I wasn't really thinking. But yeah. So that's that. I am gonna go grocery shopping. But thank you all for swinging by. I just wanted to go through those videos of Mandy Cohen because I know a lot of people are watching them, and I had it on my checklist of things to watch, and I thought it would be fun to go through it. So have a good rest of your day, everyone.